Hello everyone, I'm Amrita from Spinner Story, and in continuation with the series that I'm doing on the live stories of children's book authors, I bring you Sudha Murthy today. In fact, today also happens to be her birthday. So, what can I tell you about her? She is a woman who wears many hats. She has been not only a children's writer, she's actually also been an engineer, she's been a computer scientist, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, a social worker, such a lot of work that she has done in her life. And what else can I tell you? Her books, they have sold over 1 million copies. She is bilingual, she writes in Kannada and as well in English. And I will talk to you a little bit more about her books, but to start with her life story, she was born Sudha Kulkarni, that was her maiden name, in a little place near Goa in rural Karnataka, here is Karnataka, called Shigaon. Okay, and in her own words, she's always said that her childhood was a typical childhood in a village. It was very grounded with a very close knit family. So her father R.H. Kulkarni was a surgeon and a professor, and her mother Vimla Kulkarni was a teacher. So from childhood they were really encouraged to read a lot of books, and also her grandparents were a great influence on her. Her grandfather used to really encourage her to read a lot. Now, what else can I tell you? She had 3 siblings, and they were very well educated. I will show you their pictures also in a while, but the one picture I really wanted to show you is this picture of the 3 sisters. So here is Sudha Murthy here on the side with her elder sisters, and what I really wanted to highlight was that she was quite a cool cat and quite a trendsetter in those times, because she wanted a bob cut, she wanted to wear shirts and trousers, and she got a lot of flack from it, because these were the 60s and 70s, where you didn't really see women dressing up like this. And of course, when it came to career choices, she decided she wanted to study engineering. Now, engineering again in those days was not something women were studying, and she was told that you're not going to find a good boy for yourself if you study engineering, and you should just settle down. But she was quite determined, and you'll see a lot of instances of her determination today when I talk about the rest of her life. And she decided she wanted to study, so she went to study in a college close to her home to do her bachelor's. Now here's something very interesting, that the college she went to had 600 students, out of which she was the only girl. Okay, so that's like a big surprise, right? So she was given a list of don'ts and do's, so she was told that she should wear only sarees to college, she should not talk to any of the boys, she should not go to the canteen, and so she followed all those rules, and she won a gold medal. So her first gold medal was actually in her bachelor's, where she did electrical engineering, which was given to her by none other than the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Then she went on to do her master's, where she got her second gold medal. And where did she go? So she went to the Indian Institute of Science to study computer engineering, and one gold medal after the other. Now there's a very interesting story that talks about what happened to her in her future and what really got her to go into engineering further in life. Now, we have so many incidents in life where you decide something, but life takes a different turn, and it gives you something even more beautiful. So she was, after she finished her graduation, the year was 1974, and she was thinking of going to do her PhD at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US. And one day she came across this chance advertisement in the paper, which said that Tata had this company called Telco, which is the Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company, which is the automotive arm of the Tata company. They were looking for young, energetic engineers, and they had this line saying, "Ladies need not apply." Now she was really miffed. She was like, why can't women apply as well? So what she did, she wrote a postcard to J.R.D. Tata, who was the chairman of the Tata Group. And here is J.R.D. Tata here, and she wrote, that the Tatas have been such pioneers, and they are people, they started working on infrastructure, and they worked on so many different fields in the country, and they also were responsible for the Indian Institute of Science where she studied, and she said, I am really unhappy about the fact that, why is telco discriminating on the base of gender? I didn't expect this from the Tatas. So this postcard reached DRD Tata, and what did he do? So he called in his people and he said, if this girl is really qualified for the job, please invite her for the interview. So they gave her first class return tickets to come to Pune for the interview, and she of course cleared the interview and she got her first job as a development engineer in telco in Jamshedpur. Now that actually made her the first woman engineer that the Tata company had ever had. So how she was such a trailblazer, such a pioneer in her own way. And then of course she married Narayan Murthy in 1978. There's another story about that her parents and other relatives didn't feel that he was doing well enough for her, and she went ahead with it anyway, because he was more a friend first and then he proposed to her. So there was this comfort level and she really wanted to go ahead and marry him. And I wanted to show you this picture. There aren't so many pictures of her from her earlier life, but there's this picture of her from her marriage. And then of course this was 1978. So in 1981 Narayan Murthy decided that he wanted to work in the information technology industry and he wanted to start a company. Now what she did was, at that time, she decided that she was going to leave her job and she was going to support him. And then what did she do? So she went up. There's another story that she resigned from telco, and she met GRD Tata on the staircase of Bombay House, where she told him that she's leaving the company, she wants to support her husband. And there are these famous words of GRD Tata that he said, you're only a trustee of money, it always changes hands. When you're successful, give back to society. And this is something that has really stayed with her. In fact, in her office all throughout these years, she's always had a picture of GRD. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Now I'll show you some pictures. This is Mr. Murthy with their kids. They have two kids. Their daughter is Akshita, she's older, and then they have a son called Rohan. And of course I wanted to show you also pictures of her family picture, with her own parents. And I told you they are very well educated, her siblings. So one of her sisters is a gynecologist, her brother is an award-winning astronomer. So I just wanted to show you a few pictures of the family as well. Now around this time, when she was about 29 in 1979, is when she wrote her first book, which was called Mahashweta. So here is a cover in Kannada, because she wrote the cover, she wrote the book in Kannada, and this is a later cover that when the book went into English as well. Now this story was actually very trailblazing in its own right even then, because she wrote about a woman who had a skin condition of leukoderma. I'm sure we've heard of it. And of course this woman was abandoned by her family, she was ostracized by her family, and she went ahead, she moved to Mumbai and she started her own career. She started working and had a very fulfilling life. So right at the word go, her first novel itself was really about an empowered woman. Okay, now I wanted to show you some pictures of Infosys. Okay, now we all know Infosys is one of the largest IT companies in the world. It was arguably the first IT company in our country as well. And here are some early pictures of Sudha Murthy with Mr. Murthy and Nandan Nilekani and his wife, who was a co-founder. And here you have pictures of Mr. Murthy in the office, and of course the early team and how big Infosys is. Look at the headquarters, they are like a city onto itself. But the story of actually how Infosys started has a lot to do with her as well. So when Mr. Murthy decided he wanted to start Infosys, she really supported him. So what did she do? She gave 10,000 rupees of her own savings to him to start the company. A lot of people say she sold her jewelry. I don't know about that, but I do know that 10,000 rupees is what she gave her husband as seed money for the company. She also said he could use the front bedroom of the house for the company, because it started so small, right from the house. And she told him that 3 years is what I give you. 3 years I will work, I will support the family, and you follow your passion and create this company. And I saw an interview once of her son, and of course her whole family mentions this about her, that if it weren't for her support to Mr. Murthy, Infosys maybe wouldn't be even born. So that's how much of a support she was for her husband. And then of course she wanted to work for Infosys also. So there's a story where Mr. Murthy said it's only one of them could work, because you needed a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, single-minded to work for the company. So they felt it was a decision by both of them that he would continue with the company, and she actually started working as well. She became a teacher. So she has taught computer science at Bangalore University, and even she's been visiting faculty at the Christ College. So she was a teacher, and in fact in 1995 she won yet another award, which was the best teacher in Karnataka from the Rotary Club of Karnataka. And then the following year in 1996 she decided that she was going to found the Infosys Foundation. So what is the Infosys Foundation? It is basically a non-profit organization, and it has worked in possibly every ambit, okay, starting from poverty alleviation to working with public hygiene to working in healthcare. So they have done a lot of work for underprivileged people in the healthcare sector. And then of course there are some topics which are really close to our heart. So for instance, like when there was a issue with floods, the company the organization, they made 2300 homes for people who were affected. And what is really close to her heart is working with women. And she has said, had Infosys Foundation not happened, her eyes wouldn't have been opened to what all is happening in our country. She has been able to work at the grassroots with so many women from villages. She has learned a lot. It has really helped her help these women back in return. So she has done a lot of work for women. And of course, when it comes to public hygiene, she has been part of getting 20,000 public toilets made. So it's a huge number. There are other staggering numbers that the foundation has really helped to achieve, but I'll just focus on a few. And of course, kids. She loves children. Here, look at these pictures of her interacting with kids when she travels all over. And of course, Infosys is helping with midday meals, with a lot of things in schools. It had been her dream that she wanted that every school, government school in Karnataka, should have a computers taught, and she's really working on that. And another picture I wanted to show you, which I thought was very nice, is this is her sitting in her library at home. So she and her husband, they love reading. They have their own personal library. She says that her grandfather always used to say, you should have a library at home. So instead of pursuing materialistic things, let's really pursue something that is going to really increase your awareness in education. And it didn't matter that if you didn't have a room for a library in your house, even if you had a shelf of books, that was good enough. So this is a prized place for her in her house. And why I'm showing you this is because her grandfather had told her that you must donate to a library, you must give books to a library, and she did so much more. She has been part of 70,000 libraries that have been set up through the Infosys Foundation. I mean, it's a staggering number. Okay, and then I wanted to show you a very this picture went viral a few years ago. This is her selling vegetables. So this came out all over the net, like what is she doing selling vegetables? So she is an active volunteer also. Remember I told you she's a social worker. So she is an active volunteer, and here she was volunteering, and then there was this big hullabaloo made out of this picture. So now if you talk to her about writing, she always says that if philanthropy is food, writing to her is pickle. So this is how she's trying to show that philanthropy is a much larger part of her life. She works 365 days a year. She does not take a holiday, and she is found 8 a.m. in her office every single day, because that is the kind of nourishment working with the foundation has given her. Okay, now I'll talk to you about her books. So I already mentioned that she is bilingual. She has written in Kannada and in English. So she has about 17 books that she's written in Kannada and 22 that she has written in English. Of course, she started writing, I told you, Kannada books. Her first book was at age 29. So you'll be really surprised to know that her first book in English actually came in the year 2000-2002 when she was 50. That's when she started writing in English. And she has written a whole gamut of genres. So she has been in non-fiction, she's done technical books, she has done travelogues, and in fiction she's done short stories, she's done novels, she's done children's books. So she has worked on practically everything. Okay, and here I'm just showing you a collage. There's so many pictures of her books floating on the the net, but just to give you an idea of so many books that she has written. And there's also, this interview I saw of hers where she said English actually was not her first language. It didn't come naturally to her to write in English because, remember, she was born in rural Karnataka and Kannada was the language that she spoke and wrote in. But, her mother really encouraged her. So one of the ways she really brushed up on her English was she used to read Reader's Digest magazine. She used to read newspapers, and that's how she really increased her vocabulary. And when it came to starting to write in English, that really helped her. What else can I tell you? The first book that she wrote was called Wise and Otherwise. Okay, this came out in the year 2002. Okay, and here what she's done is she wrote about 50 life-changing experiences that she had gone through. There's one very famous episode which is at Heathrow Airport in London, where someone had termed her cattle class because she was dressed in a salwar kameez and they didn't think that she would be having a business class ticket. So she's brought all her life experiences. She's a voracious traveler, she's a voracious reader. So she's brought so many of her interactions into her books. And of course, I'm sure a lot of the kids watching would know about this, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read and Other Stories. So this book, and there are a couple of other, they're actually part of school syllabus and curriculum also. So a lot of children actually read her books as part of their school syllabus. And this is also a little bit of a semi-autobiographical book because here there is a story about how she had encouraged her grandmother to pick up reading and writing, and really helped her because her grandmother was a very determined woman who wanted to be literate. And of course there are other this is again a book, Grandma's Bag of Stories. It's been part of school syllabus. Then later came Grandparents' Bag of Stories. These typical stories that Dada Dadi, Nana Nani, your grandparents would tell you when you went with them on school vacations, on things which have a lot of simplicity, values that we give to our children, very grounding stories. So these are like a must read for all the kids in our country. And of course, because her books have been such hits, 9 of her books in English have been bestsellers. And whenever there's a launch, it's packed with so many people. I told you she's sold over 1 million copies already of her books. And there is somewhere she's always said that when a lot of kids growing up read Enid Blyton, or we read stories like fairy tales like Cinderella and Red Riding Hood and things like that, they come from Western culture. So she's a big proponent that we should have Indian books with the Indian context, stories of the Indian context written by Indian authors. So she has really tried to bring a lot of our country and what we stand for in her books, and I wanted to highlight that. So I'll highlight, there's so many books. I'll just show you some of the genres she's worked on and how she wrote what she wrote. So when it comes to mythology, when she grew up in her village in Karnataka, she used to read a lot of mythological tales. Okay, and there's a very interesting story. So these are her 2 granddaughters. They live, her daughter Akshita's daughters, who live in the UK. And there's a very interesting story that once they had heard the story about Krishna, and they are telling their grandmother the story, saying that Krishna went to a swimming pool and there were a lot of aunties who were looking at him in the swimming pool. And actually the story was about Krishna going to the river Yamuna and the gopis having a look at him. So she was really amused, and she wrote this book, The Serpent's Revenge, with getting tales from the Mahabharata. Of course there are a lot of other books she's written. So here, The Man from the Egg is basically talking about the trinity of Vishnu and Shiv and Brahma. And then this book here, The Wishing Tree, Daughters of the Wishing Tree, this actually is basically talking about all the female characters in our mythology, like Sita, Draupadi, Ganga, very empowering stories about them and making it really simple for children. So she always writes that she finds it more difficult to write for children because she tries to bring the language down to their level, tries to keep it simple but very interesting for the kids to read. And of course then there's the Upside Down King. These are tales about Ram and Krishna. And I've spoken to some kids and they always tell me, oh, we didn't know this till we read her stories. So she has really done a lot for bringing mythology into the lives of children in our country. Then there is this series that she's done on how the onion got its layers. These are questions kids have. A lot of kids ask, questions and parents say we don't know the answer to that. There's so many things popping in their heads, right? So she's come up with this series that she's done where she's really trying to educate kids on these little questions that they ask. Then of course there is how the sea became salty, which again has a bit of nature, it has environment and science in it. And this is her latest book, How the Earth Got Its Beauty. So she's talked about it, she's talking about the planet, she's talking about different the wonder of our earth, whether it's the plants or the flowers and the mountains, and how it's got stories about inner transformation. So this is a very nice book to really introduce the planet to our kids. And then of course because she has always been very attached to causes for women, she has written a lot of books on women's lives, whether it's novels or whether it's just essays and her incidents. So there is also this book called The 3000 Stitches, which is again a lot of incidents that happened while she was working with the Infosys Foundation. And one very interesting one I wanted to show you. Here's a picture of her with Devdasis. So Infosys Foundation was really responsible for helping about 3000 Devdasis. They've been exploited in temples all over South India, to get them liberated and get them on their feet. So she was part of that journey. And of course there's Dollar Bohu, which was made into a TV series. It talks about how society is getting so materialistic and how we can go back to a value-based society. Then this book here, The Day I Stopped Drinking Milk. So these are encounters she's had, for instance, with people, villagers in Odisha, and she's talked about other people she's met who really influenced her. And then here there is Gently Falls the Bakula or House of Cards. They are talking about how people in our country marrying from different communities, what is it that they go through, what is her living in village life versus city life, what it is to be in a corporate culture. So there is little smatterings of all of this. She's basically bringing a mirror of our society. She's showing us what the change in our society is all about. Then she has won so many awards. So I already showed you those 2 gold medals that she won, and of course she's won the 4th highest civilian award in our country, which is the Padma Shri. She was given the Padma Shri in 2006 for her contribution to social work. Here she is with President Kalam. And of course there are many. I'm just showing you a typical picture of her receiving this award in Chennai, but she has won literary awards from the government of Karnataka. She has won in 2006 the R.K. Narayan Prize for Literature. She has also won for the Crossword Raymond Lifetime Achievement in Literature Award in 2018. So the list is endless, and it's not just for writing and social work. She's even won awards for contribution to science. Remember, she was a teacher, so she has got a doctorate from IIT Kanpur, and then the Indian Institute of Science, which is where she first studied, has also had a distinguished chair in her name. So there is so much that she has done, and every field that she has excelled in, she has been awarded for it as well. Now, little known facts about her. She is a big movie buff. She was a huge fan of Dilip Kumar. It seems she's a fan of Ayushmann Khurrana and all these groundbreaking movies that he does as well. And somewhere I read that she said that if she hadn't been what she was doing, she would probably be writing like a film critic or something like that. And here is a picture of her. So she was at the season 11 of Kaun Banega Crorepati in 2019 with Amitabh Bachchan. There was a Karamveer episode, and in fact on this episode she had also gifted him a bed sheet that all the Devdasis that she had rescued, they had made, and she had gifted it to him. And speaking of films, she did a cameo in a movie, in a Kannada movie in 2017. I don't know if you can go check out and see her in that movie. And there is also talk that in 2020, during the pandemic, Ashwini Iyer, the lady who made this famous movie called Nil Batte Sannata, which a lot of kids have seen. Schools have taken kids to see this movie. So she is wanting to make a movie based on the life of Sudha and Narayan Murthy, and rumor has it that Alia Bhatt just might back the role. So let's see when that comes out. Now I want to show you another Sudha. Now you'll get a surprise that this little Sudha here, baby elephant, was born in 2020, a few days before her birthday. Remember, I told you her birthday is 19th August. So she was born a few days before her birthday, and she was named Sudha in the Banerghata National Park near Bangalore. So I wanted to show you this because I'm sure a lot of us don't know about this. Then talking about her life. They have a very, very simple lifestyle. She and her husband. She may be worth, some people say, 2,500 crores, 3,000 crores. I mean, you can just add the zeros. It doesn't matter to her because their life has essentially remained the same. They are still very normal, middle class, grounded people. And here she is on one of her morning walks, which is when she says all her ideas come in, all those characters that she dreams up for her stories come to her during a morning walk. This is her dog Gopi. She's even done a 3-part series called the Gopi Diaries on Gopi, and of course it really brings out, to kids how they need to be kind to animals as well. And here she is with her husband, law-abiding citizens doing things the right way. Very, very inspiring. And I wanted to show you another fact which a lot of people don't know, is that their family, specifically their son Rohan, was really inspired by his parents' love of books. And you know what the family has done in 2010? They actually started the Murthy Classical Library of India, which is a library in Harvard. Okay, Harvard University in the US, where 2000 years of Indian literature in every language, they have tried to translate it, and they have donated these to the Harvard University for so many people in the world to really know about Indian literature and to be more aware of it. So I really like that, and I wanted to show you this as well. And what else can I tell you? When you ask her about, tips that she wants to give future writers, if kids are here listening and wanting to know what can they do to become better writers, she says that, read a lot. So she reads about 150, 200 pages a day. Read a lot, learn from other authors. And she says it's not important to use very fancy words, because remember, English was a second language for her, which is why you'll see her novels are very simple. The language is very simple, which is what she always wants us to do as well. And she says, speak from the heart, write from your heart. Don't write to be famous or to earn lots of money. Just do everything from your heart. So these are the tips. In fact, I read somewhere that, when it comes to Kannada, because it comes naturally to her, she always writes, pen on paper, longhand when it comes to Kannada. But when it comes to English, she always switches to the computer. So this was something very interesting I wanted to bring out to you. And of course, her other tip would be that, be very consistent in whatever you do. It's nice to have dreams, but it's also nice to follow them up with a lot of hard work. And of course, nothing about Sudha Murthy is without her quotes. So she has so many quotes that she's giving you, live gyan, which is so really amazing for us. So, here she's written that don't try to please everybody. You have to work for yourself, for your own happiness, and also, how simplicity and confidence are so important in your life. And again, what she got from JRD and from her family, that you should always have some aim in life, and it's not like you just have a goal and it's just for you, for your own selfish gains. It also has to be for the betterment of society. And again, talking about the husband-wife relationship, she says that women are supporting their husbands when they build companies, so men should also support. In fact, her husband, Mr. Murthy, actually helps her with everything in the house. He also helps her with a lot of household chores as well. And then this is my favorite, which says, life is an exam, but the syllabus is unknown and question papers are not set, nor are they any model answer papers. So I really like this. Very inspiring life, truly inspiring life, and there's so much we can learn from someone like her. So I hope you enjoyed the session. This session is also going to be on Spinner Stories Facebook page, and Spinner Story is also now on YouTube, so you can check out this whole series. There's also a series on Indian festivals that I've put up on YouTube, so please check it out. Do send me comments, let me know how you like the sessions, let me know which authors you want me to cover for you in these coming sessions. So I hope to see you again soon. I bid you adieu. Bye.